Just be yourself. It's the single most common piece of dating advice out there. Your mom says it, your sister says it, your friends say it, even complete strangers on the internet love to throw it around. And at first, it sounds nice. Just relax, man. Don't try too hard. Just show people who you really are, and the right person will magically see your value. But here's the problem. If I had listened to that advice, I'd still be invisible. I'm an Asian guy, and growing up, I was shy, introverted, and completely socially unaware. I had no calibration for how to interact with people outside of my little bubble. The only people I could really talk to were kids who were just like me. My whole world was school, anime, and video games. So my authentic self at that point? I didn't like social interaction. I was lazy. I liked keeping to myself. I'd rather stay in my room, grind matches on League, and avoid discomfort. And guess what? If I had just been myself, I would have stayed that way. No growth, no progress, and definitely no dating life. So when people told me, just be yourself, what they were really saying without realizing it was, stay stuck exactly where you are. And this is why I wholeheartedly believe just be yourself is the worst dating advice ever. So let's break down why. First, it's vague and contradictory. No one actually explains what it means. How can you be yourself if you're already yourself? Who else would you even be? It's like telling a guy who gets no matches on Tinder, just keep swiping, bro. It doesn't solve the problem. Second, it removes agency. If you're struggling in dating, just be yourself basically tells you, oh well, that's just who you are. Imagine getting ghosted over and over and someone tells you, hey bro, just keep sending the same messages, eventually it'll work. That advice traps you. And speaking of which, third, it becomes a comfort trap. For the people giving the advice, it's the laziest cop-out. They don't have to think deeply about your situation, risk offending you, or spend energy helping you. They just drop a cliche and move on. And for the people receiving it, it just becomes an excuse. Saying you are who you are is a shield against criticism, rejection, and the uncomfortable work of change. Fourth, it only works for the privileged few. I'm talking about guys who already have what the dating market values such as height, good looks, charisma, money, and natural social skills. They can be themselves and it works. But for everyone else, for the guys struggling with confidence, awkwardness, lack of presentation, just be yourself is like telling a guy with 0 matches, don't change your profile, bro. The right girl will eventually swipe right back. It's completely useless. And finally, it ignores market fit. Think about it like this. Dating is competitive. You don't just show up to a first date in sweatpants, sit there silently and expect her to magically see your personality. Attraction doesn't reward raw authenticity. It rewards how you present yourself through your photos, your fashion, your presence, and your confidence. So unless you're already winning, just be yourself isn't advice, it's a band-aid that keeps you failing. Now let's dig into where this advice actually comes from, because who says it and why they say it matters a lot. So there's your family and close friends. When your mom or your sister tells you to just be yourself, it usually comes from a place of love and comfort. They already value you just for existing. They've known you your whole life. They don't need you to be tall, jacked, stylish, or charismatic. They love you for who you are, so they assume everyone else will too. It's well-intentioned but naive. They're not looking at your actual dating results. Then we have acquaintances or people who kind of know you. These are the people who don't want to invest much energy into you, so they default to cliches. If you complain about your dating life, they throw out just be yourself as a band-aid. Why? Because it diffuses your frustration without dragging them into your problems. They don't want to risk offending you with real feedback. They don't want to spend the time to actually help, so they just toss you the easiest possible answer. The irony is that these people might have the most objective answers to your issues, but choose this path to spare your feelings and prevent potential fallout. And finally, we have complete strangers, especially those online. This is the worst one yet. A guy posts on Reddit saying he gets no matches for months or even years, and we got people saying that he looks fine and that nothing's wrong with him. For some, that advice comes from people who've never struggled that deeply themselves. They're looking down from the mountaintop, telling you how easy it is, but they've never had to climb that same path. It's pure ignorance. But then we also have people who love giving advice for the sake of it. They enjoy the feeling of being wise and chiming in with an opinion, even if it's nonsense. It makes them feel powerful, like they're helping, when in reality, they're not. You see this a lot with women who are either single or in a relationship with a man who's nothing like the guy asking for advice. She'll say, oh, but I find you attractive, you just need to be yourself. And eventually, the right girl will see it too. But guess what? That's not advice. That's just feel-good reassurance. People who ask for help need constructive criticism, not affirmations. They don't want non-advice disguised as encouragement. So the reality is, most people who give you this advice either don't understand your struggle, don't care enough to give you the hard truth, or just enjoy the little ego boost of being the one to hand out comforting but useless words. So when I first started dating, I had no idea what I was doing. I was a late entry into the game. I was socially uncalibrated, introverted, and just throwing myself out there blind. My dating profile was random selfies, bad lighting, and awkward angles. I thought, if I just show myself, people will see the real me and like me. But nobody did. I got nothing. And when I asked for advice, that's when I got hit with the same useless phrase over and over. Just be yourself. Like, bro, I heard it from my sister, from my friends, even from guys that were doing better than me but played off my struggles. And every time I heard it, it made me feel more discouraged because deep down, I knew it wasn't helping. That was probably the biggest driver for me to figure this out myself. If the people around me weren't willing to help, and the people who could help didn't want to, then I had to become that person for myself. I had to become the expert I needed. And here's why. Telling someone to just be yourself is dismissive. Like we already covered, it removes agency. It assumes you can't change. It ignores the real reasons that you're struggling. But the truth is, you can always be better. You can always improve. And you have to if you want to succeed in modern dating. That doesn't mean becoming someone you're not, but it does mean changing yourself to fit the demands of your desires. You want great dating results? Then you have to meet the requirements. You have to improve the packaging. That means your photos, your style, and your social calibration. And the process of improving the packaging improves the product too. You become more confident, more capable, and more grounded. And as an example, that's exactly what I did. Physically, I hit the gym, built muscle, learned style, and stopped dressing like I didn't care. Mentally and emotionally, I built self-awareness, studied communication, and developed emotional intelligence. Socially, I forced myself into situations that terrified me at first, and I learned to read the room, built charisma, and stopped apologizing for existing. And over time, I completely rebuilt myself. I went from a shy, invisible gamer to someone confident, socially calibrated, and shameless about who I am. And that transformation only happened because I rejected the advice to just be yourself. If I had listened to that, I'd still be stuck exactly where I started. So here's the counterintuitive truth most people won't tell you. You're not going to get away with just being yourself if you're not getting the results that you want. You need to build yourself first, and then bring out the parts of you that you're proud of. Just think about it. On a dating app, nobody that has your best interest in mind says, just upload whatever photos you have lying around. No, dude. You plan your looks with intentionality, and then you pick the best photos that showcase you in the most attractive way. For first dates, nobody that cares about you says, just act normally and treat your dates like your guy friends. Hell no! You need to put in effort. You have to dress well. You need to show interest, and you have to escalate the interaction. Why should the rest of dating be any different? The truth is, being yourself is only useful advice once you've already done the work. When you're competent, once you're socially calibrated, once you build some fundamentals, then yeah, relax and let your natural self shine. But if you're starting from zero, if you're awkward, insecure, and invisible, that advice is a death sentence. That's why I don't just repeat empty cliches back to people who ask me for help. I know how much damage Just Be Yourself did to me when I was struggling. So now when someone comes to me genuinely looking for advice, I give it to them straight. I'm talking no sugarcoating, no fluff, and no feel-good lines. I tell people exactly what they need to hear, because that's actually what helps them improve. And I focus on the details, because details can make or break your results. I'm talking about your photos, your texting verbiage, the timing of when you send a message or ask her out, the way you carry yourself in person. Most guys ignore these things, but they're often the difference between success and failure. My success and the reason people now pay me for advice didn't come from repeating lazy platitudes. It came from diligence, from obsessing over what actually works, from testing, from refining, and from passing on the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Like, bruh, I've made bank just from making PowerPoints breaking down dating profiles. So no, bro, don't just be yourself. You could build yourself up, refine yourself, then let your true self shine through when it actually counts. So let's bring this all together. Just be yourself is the worst dating advice ever because it's vague, it strips away your agency, and it only works for guys who already have what the dating market rewards. For everyone else, it's a comfort trap that keeps you stuck. That's why I refuse to follow it and why I refuse to give that kind of bad advice back. I know how damaging it is, and so the alternative is simple. You can build yourself up by improving your fitness, your confidence, and your awareness. You can refine yourself by working on your photos, your texting, your social skills, and the little details that can make or break interactions. Then and only then can you let your authentic self shine through. That's the formula. You can always strive to be better than who you were yesterday. Life itself is a long journey of self-improvement. And that's why people value my advice, because I don't hand out fluff. I give real, constructive advice that actually gets results. I stress the details most guys overlook, because that's what separates getting ignored from getting dates. And if you're tired of hearing lazy cliches and want the kind of guidance that actually works, that's exactly what I do with my coaching. Check the link in the description if you want my help building the version of you that finally wins. So that's all for now. If you're still here, I appreciate you as always, and you should like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you can relate to anything I've said. Links below if you want to look into coaching or check out my IG. Stay based, y'all.